Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today we're finally getting back to Loadout, this series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and specialization you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top comments for next week's episode of Loadout. Today's top comment comes from Ruben Christ, who says, okay, let's try this again. The Wehrmacht Infantry NCO. 34 Infantry Division Loadout, Class, Medic, Role, Combat Medic. Primary weapon is the MP40. No customization like a real Wehrmacht soldier. Secondary is the Luger P08 or the Walther P38. Gadget 1 is bandages. Gadget 2 is the AP mine. Melee weapon is the shovel. Grenade will be stock grenade. Level Cap, your ultimate mission is to conquer Europe, so withdrawing is not allowed. Now, first of all, thank you very much for the loadout suggestion. I've been excited to really get into the MP40 a bit more. Obviously, I've played it a lot. I've got it maxed out, rank 10, all that stuff. But the MP40 is such an iconic German weapon. Over 1 million of them were produced during the war. They were very popular, very widely used during World War II. And they're kind of like one of those iconic submachine guns that sort of paved the way for all future SMGs. In fact, some countries used this weapon up until the 1990s, until they were replaced by the MP5. Again, another German design weapon with a very, very similar design overall. And that's a real testament to the design of this weapon. It shoots 9mm and it was effective for many countries to use long after the war. Now, in Battlefield 5, the MP40 is the third weapon you get as the medic, and it's very, very similar to the Sten. And when you start off Battlefield 5, the Sten is fully upgraded with 4 different ways to specialize the weapon. The MP40 would require you to rank it up to at least rank 4 and then spend some company coin to specialize this. But some people like it more than the Sten. Now, it's so similar in that it has the exact same rate of fire, 540 round per minute. Almost identical hipfire, almost identical aiming down sight accuracy and accuracy while moving around. There are very, very few differences between this weapon and the Sten. One of the main ones, I think, is that you can ultimately specialize this weapon to be slightly more accurate than the Sten. And the Sten can be specialized to be slightly better with hipfire and control. So there's a very, very subtle difference there. Obviously, the Sten is a British-based weapon, and the MP40 is a German-based weapon. So, you know, if you want to roleplay or sort of have the iconic weapons for each faction, you can do that and not have a huge performance difference between the two of them. For the specialization tree, I've taken it down the right side tree for greater overall accuracy, faster aim with the first one, then we have less side-to-side recoil, then we have improved aim accuracy while stationary, and then improved aim accuracy while moving. So it's mostly been specialized for aiming and killing. The hip fire of this weapon is effective, and you could push the hip fire effectiveness even further if you wanted to, which isn't the worst idea ever, but I find the hip fire to be effective enough in close quarters that I don't really need to push it that much further. I'm usually only hip firing at 10 to 15 feet away, and in that situation it feels more than adequate. Anything further than that and I'll ADS, and that's just sort of my preferred playstyle. If you want to try and hip fire and extend that hip fire effective range, you can always mess with the other trees, but this is how I like to use this weapon. Because of the slightly slower rate of fire with medic weapons, it can really help to mix some headshots in there to try and down your opponent faster than they can down you. Now, I did kind of bounce between the NIDAR sight and the irons. I know the loadout said to only use the non-modified version of this weapon, but I gotta try it out with the NIDAR a little bit just to get a performance. On this very dark map, I will say the NIDAR sight didn't feel that helpful. With the standard irons, they're not the worst. There is quite a bit of metal housing on the left and right side, but they give you a bit of extra zoom, which is nice for trying to engage guys at further range. I feel like the NIDAR probably are the better choice in the long run for this weapon, but you can absolutely make the iron sights work, and I think this one really comes down much more to personal preference. Also, I feel like if you were to customize this weapon with some different skins, getting maybe golden iron sights might help pop the iron sights out from the background or separate them from your target a bit more to help you stay on target and be a bit more accurate. I feel like I could run this weapon with either, but I might ultimately, at the end of the day, lead towards the NIDAR sights just because they don't have quite as much obstructive housing around the optic itself. Now, as for the rest of this loadout, running the medic without smoke grenades is hard for me. Standard grenades are fine. You know, you can throw them at guys, get them to flush out of buildings and whatnot, but I love having my smoke grenades in addition to my rifle-fired smoke grenades. Just the more smoke for the medic, the better. You have to close the distance with this class, and if you run out of smoke, well, you've run out of options to close the distance in many areas of Battlefield 5. The maps are often pretty open, don't give you too many ways to push up, and so smoke is crucial to this class. I actually really like playing the medic class overall. You just have to be in a situation where you can actually push the objective and close the distance. Once you've closed the distance, you've got superior hipfire to most of your enemies and fast, agile little weapons that can throw your enemies off, who are sort of dug in and sedentary, not really moving, and you're coming in, jumping around, spraying them down with fast little SMGs. It's a fun class to play when you know what you're doing. Now, obviously, you're also still the medic class, which means you can heal your teammates, you can heal yourself, and revive your teammates. I don't often edit revives into my medic gameplay, and a lot of people think that I don't revive people. I just don't think it's entertaining to show in a YouTube edit, because reviving is now cut into a very long, drawn-out animation. It's boring to watch, it's boring to edit into gameplay, and it's also just not a thing that requires a huge amount of skill to accomplish. So putting together edits of lots of revives or chained revives is, to me, very boring, because anyone can do it, but not everyone can go around and just destroy people as the medic class. So that's more entertaining for me to edit and more entertaining for me to watch personally. But for those of you who like to think that I never revive, it's mostly an editing choice. Also, I'm a firm believer in the smart revive. You're not doing anyone a favor if you run in to revive your teammates when there's still an enemy nearby. If you see a dead teammate in the middle of a road and you run out to revive them, you're a bad medic, really. You should survey the area, see what might be shooting them, or at the very least put down some smoke and go in for the revive. The countless amounts of medics that have gone in to revive me without clearing the area at all, and they just want those revive points, they're bad medics. They're not helping the team. They're losing their own tickets, running out in the middle of nowhere and not really accomplishing anything. Unfortunately, and this is something that I've addressed in the past, but you know, something worth bringing up time and time again, this game rewards you a ton of points for revives regardless of what happens to you or your teammates right after you revive them. So you might get 200 points for a squad revive, but if you and your squad mate get gunned down half a second after the revive, you still get those points, even though it accomplished pretty much nothing at all. And that is a bit of an issue with Battlefield games, is they reward you for the act, but not ultimately what that act accomplishes. And I feel like revisiting the scoring system would be a good way to sort of maybe encourage intelligent revive gameplay. For example, if you revive somebody, maybe you get a 10-point revive bonus, but if that person survives 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds, then you get the full revive score, rather than giving you the full revive right up front, even though you could both be dead half a second after the revive finishes, giving you the revive score for reviving somebody and having them actually survive beyond, you know, the first few seconds of life. That's where I think the skill comes in, or that's where the useful meta gameplay comes in. And so DICE could easily change their scoring mechanics to encourage better, more intelligent gameplay. Now, as for the MP40, I gotta say I like it. It's a small, versatile weapon. It doesn't have huge damage output, and you're gonna be annoyed when running into assault players running things like the 1907 SF, or, well, frankly, the assault players running just about any weapon. You can out-damage most DMRs in close quarters, and that can be fun, but it can get a little rough. So you got to rely on your speed, your hipfire, your smoke, basically your ability to move around a little bit more stealthily than other classes to beat them out in combat. Also, you can self-heal, which is definitely nothing to turn your nose up at. It's one of the best abilities in the game. Constantly being able to engage your next target with full topped off health is one of the biggest advantages that the medic has. I recommend trying out the MP40 if you haven't before. If you've got a surplus of company coin, which many players do after the recent company coin retroactive update, you should be able to upgrade the MP40 all the way. I think I like it a little bit better than the Sten, but ultimately if you are in love with the Sten, you'll probably still be in love with the Sten. It's a fine gun. The MP40 just gives you a slightly different playstyle. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave your loadout comments down below for next week's episode, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing out.